Yay. All right, cool. And we're going to go live here.
Are you early?
Oh, no, it's 6:59, so yeah, maybe by a minute. Everyone going to be like, oh, Dale on time. It must be because I didn't have a trial day. Life without a trial day. I feel like we should, on the next big trial, we should, if we're involved, I feel like we should just get it, like do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough because actual lawyers do such a great job. Like the whole time we'd be watching, it would just be a reaction video instead of like actually providing insight.
Guilty Angel has arrived.
Oh, wonderful.
Always glad to see you. How are you? I hope your day is going well for you. How's your day going, Angela? I don't think I've asked you.
Oh, my day?
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. I really, really enjoyed the show of
Erica's here. Hi, Erica.
the closing arguments on the Karen Reed trial.
You enjoyed the closing arguments?
Yeah, it was like a really, really great show.
It was
like watching an awesome show.
Crystal's here. Yeah, people are just coming and going over there on the TikToks. The Karen Reed closing arguments was amazing. Let's wait until a few more folks get here before, or we can get into it. I guess we can. Certainly. I am trying to just see. Oh, okay, we're good. Guilty Angel said her day sucks, and she's starting to hate everything and everyone. You must be fairly young then, if you're just starting.
Oh.
No, I kid. I kid the woman who's having a bad day, and I'm sorry for it.
Not to make everything about astrology, but that's like a really, really close reading to what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's a shit day in astrology too.
This entire weekend is supposed to be like the cosmic influence of basically like everything's gonna feel like
delicate. What's up?
Like fireworks.
Yes.
But like not in an exciting way, like in a startling kind of way, like a make it stop kind of way.
No more. Yeah, it's definitely like a tap out kind of a weekend. It's a great weekend to fucking stay home. It's a great weekend to like read, like a really great weekend to just try to shut it down.
Every professional astrologer I follow is like, this is a great weekend for laying low.
Yeah, it's a great lay low weekend, man. Astrology is not on anyone's side right now, so
just give yourself some grace to feel a little frazzled and try and make sure that it doesn't turn into anything more consequential than that.
Yeah.
Like
tomorrow is a particularly
like
troublesome configuration.
The 15th especially. That's when
Sunday.
That's when Mars is squaring, which is a harsh aspect, to Uranus exactly on the 15th.
Delicate's on her way to the airport. She's flying to Arizona for Father's Day.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
What part of Arizona? I love Arizona. I love Arizona and New Mexico. I like the desert vibes are so spooky.
Yeah.
I feel like time stops in the Southwest desert.
I love driving through the desert.
I used to visit a friend in Cuchillo, New Mexico, which is like a little like ghost town outside of Albuquerque. Like
practically abandoned.
2 hours into the desert from Albuquerque.
There's like 5 people that live there.
Yeah. And I would spend like a week there, and I felt like I spent like 2 months because the time just doesn't pass the same way. Like even just like the 24 hours of the day, it just feels like it kind of feels like you're on another planet. There's also this really strange like the air feels different, like the ozone. You know how like when you go to if you've ever gone to like the beach, I'm most familiar with the beach in the southern west coast. But like the
Cali beaches.
The sea air feels different because I don't know, it feels like pressurized almost.
The
or maybe
sea air?
depressurized, like the pressure's different.
It's thick.
Yeah, like you know how you can't really hear people at the beach even though it doesn't feel that noisy?
Yeah.
It's like sound doesn't carry. The desert is like that. It's very much like that. Like it feels it's like you're on Mars.
Yeah. I haven't spent that much time in the desert. I spent like, you know what I mean? Like I haven't,
But even when you're just driving through, because you've
for sure. I spent like, I've definitely spent like multiple weeks of my life in the desert. So certainly I am not, you know, I have desert experience.
yeah, multiple weeks is a long time.
Yeah.
When did you spend multiple weeks in the desert?
Oh, I mean, I've been to Vegas multiple times for very long, like not very long, but a week here or whatever. So I've certainly spent weeks in the desert, and then I spent some time in Palm Springs, and you know, just, you know, I lived in Southern California for 15 years, man. I made it to the desert. You know, it's not far.
We used to go like try and watch the meteor showers in it wasn't all the way to Death Valley, but I can't remember what the nearest like open desert is. And it gets so cold at night, more cold than anybody was ever prepared for. But maybe that's why Las Vegas is such like a different, unique tourist destination where everything is just kind of like haywire. You know, because desert vibes are different.
Yeah, definitely. The first time I went to Palm Springs, it was the first time I was exposed to misting on public streets.
Mm-hmm.
You
glorious.
You're just walking.
I'm so sorry, my stomach is like straight up grumbling in this microphone.
I don't. Yeah, maybe people can hear it.
I'm sure people can hear it on my end. It's like a creaky ship.
So yeah, like the first time I ever walked down a regular public street and got sprayed with you know,
comforting, cooling mist.
Oh God! And I was like,
It's
wow,
nice.
it was nice, but I also thought like, wow, you can't really live without this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you?
Yeah.
You just died.
Last time we drove across the country, there were some ways across the route where you look out and there's these like completely like desolate looking communities where like people live in these like single wide and double wide trailers with like straight up holes in them.
Yeah.
But you can see that there's still people living around, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like, how do you guys deal with the heat? I don't know how.
It's wild.
It's
just like looking at anybody in extreme situations. It doesn't matter where it is. Like extreme cold is the same thing. You're just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like I'm from cold as fuck Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Like it is cold. You know, when I was a kid, when you know the climate wasn't so completely out of control, it was wild. I mean, snowbanks up to, you know, the tops of stop signs everywhere.
Did you guys ever get trapped in your house with the snow?
Multiple times in my life, in my childhood, for sure.
Was it a big deal, or did your parents just like ride it out like?
No, I mean, you get. Well, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. I mean,
where you like open the door and there's like
snow.
A wall?
Yep, that's happened in my life multiple times.
Amazing.
So I think anywhere, and that's not the extreme though. Like north of that is the extreme, like Churchill, Manitoba, where literally you can't go out at night, or if you do go out, like make sure you have protection because a polar bear, which are by the way the only bears, maybe the only mammals known to hunt man. They actually hunt mankind. They're the smart ones. They're like, who's the dominant one? What's that? Oh, just because they caught a couple of us and put us in a fucking zoo. They think, oh, they're the dominant ones. I'm going to eat me.
These ones are a little bony, but it's meat.
Just like picking their teeth with our femur. Who's what now? Huh? Karen Reed's closing arguments, Alan Jackson's closing arguments. I don't know. Like as a writer, I felt like I should do like a video on reacting to it as a piece of writing.
Mm-hmm.
It was fucking brilliant. I have like 4 notes.
I think that his closing argument was one of the most articulate and compelling. Like the way he performed it was especially effective. It's one of the most impressive ones I've ever seen in my life.
I don't know if he's written a book. He might write one in his future if he hasn't already though.
Yeah.
The guy's gifted.
Yeah, he's gifted
with writing and understanding. He understands pacing. He understands like cadence. He understands, you know. Yeah, he just understands how to move language emotionally, because that's really what I think. The best writing, the writing I enjoy the most is the writing that like moves emotionally. You know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be super prosy or whatever.
I just think it was a really skilled way to organize the information. Like I've been trying to organize a telling of your lawsuit with DiCaprio and
Right.
McGuire. And it's really challenging to compile all of the different aspects of the story in a way that sort of flows.
Yeah.
It's really like trial lawyers are really, really talented orators. It's really hard to do.
Well, what they really are is talented nonfiction nonfiction writers.
Yeah.
They're talented nonfiction writers, and John Grisham aside, I mean, I'm sure many lawyers. Obviously, we have John Grisham, and there are others who are wonderful fiction writers, but they have a distinct ability to gather facts and whether they're extraneous or whatever, and they're able to sift through those facts and glean from them the most compelling story and how to tell it, and where the peaks and valleys need to be in order to
Well, it was really
draw
neat.
something compelling.
It was really neat that we saw in the documentary, the Karen Reed documentary, that how they were rehearsing
Yeah.
the closing arguments. So that I mean, it's absolutely like putting on a play.
Oh, for
So
sure.
great.
Yeah, it is.
Can you turn me off? I have to step out.
The thing I liked about the thing I like most about actually it's the thing I admire most about what Jackson did was Angela's like leaving right in the middle of my sentence.
I'm so sorry. I gotta step out for 2 seconds.
But anyway, the thing that I admire most that Jackson did was that he was able he sounds so natural. Like it is such a great performance. It's such a great piece of writing and like an incredible performance. I was blown away by it, really. Like as a writer and as a fiction writer, I would as a screenwriter especially, I would 100% like. And this is the great thing about living in this day and age as a writer is that you can set that aside and you can use that as a bloody reference because it's a sweet reference for how to write a closing argument. Legal dramas are like, I mean, who doesn't love a legal drama? And we all do. True crime's like one of the biggest fucking genres going right now. So what Alan Jackson did today was super stellar. And what was really, really also entertaining for me today, I hate to say that I'm being entertained by a woman fighting for her freedom. And I truly believe that's what's happening. And I do believe that she will be acquitted. Straight out, I do believe she will be flat out acquitted. If she's not acquitted, though, I do believe a hung jury is her worst possible outcome here. I'm just a layman. I'm just a guy. But I listened to most of the facts. And at no point was I ever compelled by what the Commonwealth was putting forward. And I also came in with the first trial bias. But at any point in time, could the prosecution could have done something to make me feel like for a minute that she was guilty or that there was an even possibility of it. And here's the problem that they're faced with, and I love, is that you can't convict somebody on a possibility. She can't be thrown in jail if you're as a juror following the letter of the law. You can't put that woman in jail if there was a possibility that she killed him. You can't. It's literally instructed by the judge to acquit or find not guilty if you think it's possible that she killed John O'Keefe. You have to think it's impossible that she did not kill John O'Keefe to convict her. That it's impossible that John O'Keefe died in any other way than the way that the Commonwealth is saying. Nope. Wah, wah. Fucking busted. That's what I say about that. While Angela's going, I'll talk about some stuff. Martin Scorsese, some things I have for you guys. Unless you just want to throw some questions at me or whatever. Alyssa says, I'm waiting for my order. Stalking my driver's location. That's funny. Speaking of stalking, actually, Taylor Swift got a restraining order. Did you see this, Delicate? Taylor Swift got a restraining order. And don't text if you're driving there, Delicate. But She got a restraining order because I guess some guy has been showing up at her LA home, has shown up on 5 different occasions, I think is what the headline said. And that he is claiming that they have children together, and so frightening. I can't imagine. What's going on TikTok? Who's with me? I haven't seen anybody. We got some likes going on there. What's going on? Don't forget throw your likes around and throw your subscribes and all that other stuff, and help us as we're beginning to build this thing that we don't even really know what it is yet. This little talking head thing. Oh, there's Dr. Susan. Hi, Dr. Susan. She's on YouTube. Yeah, it is horrifying. Dr. Susan said, stalkers are horrifying. I can't even imagine what that's like. I can't imagine like sitting around here and thinking, so one of the biggest breakthrough moments I had in terms of the, fuck the patriarchy moment was kind of a weird one, because it was just me being confronted by my ignorance. I was talking with a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, and we were talking, and we always got into like social political stuff, and she's like very opinionated and very loud about her opinions, and so we would get into these heated debates, and wine fueled debates. And hello, Angela.
Hello.
And so we get into these wine fueled debates, and at some point we had gotten into one about women and about men and how shitty men are, and I was pretty sure I was defending men, not entirely, but just to the extent that hey, come on, we're not all bad kind of defense. And at some point in the conversation, she pointed out that I didn't know what it was like to walk down the street in the middle of the night and see a figure, a silhouette coming toward you, knowing that silhouette was a male, and then feeling that fear of what that man could be or mean to a solo female at night on a dark street. And it really hit me hard, because I'd never thought about it, so it just really hit me hard. And what we're talking about, Angela, by the way, is that Taylor Swift got a restraining order on a guy who has shown up outside of her LA home.
Horrible.
5 different occasions, and with claims that they have children together. Really.
That's so sad.
Super not their stuff. So I'm it's obviously super concerning, and I was just thinking about how scary that is, and remembering how I had never even considered what it would be like for an everyday woman to walk down a street in the middle of the night and see a man walking toward her, and how that changes all of her functions, the way she's thinking, the way she's breathing, the decisions she has to make. What is it? Courage, go through it? Is it turn around and walk toward a brighter area? Now you got a phone. You got if you're armed, do you?
I told you this story, right, about that when that happened to me.
So imagine if you're being stalked. Yeah, well, yeah, you can share it. Yeah.
I was walking home. I got off the bus, and there was a guy who I didn't notice while we were on the bus, but he got off the same stop as me. And then I walked down the street, and he walked behind me. And then I turned up a street, and it was this. It was kind of like a side street that didn't have a bunch of through traffic. Right. It was really windy, and I had to go up this set of stairs. This is in Los Angeles, in the Echo Park neighborhood, where there's a lot of neighborhood staircases. Oh, yeah. So I would just cross through these narrow stairs to get up to the top of the hill where I lived. Right. And he went up that narrow side street with me. And then he was walking behind me, and I was walking, and it was...
was your heart just fucking pounding?
Well, I mean, no, because...
Really?
He had distance behind me.
Dude,
But I was trying to, gauge the... I was, doing, a risk assessment the whole time, which is horrible. But, it was it was maybe 8:30 at night. I had just gotten off my day job shift. Yeah. So it was kind of dark, but it was definitely dark, up these narrow streets with the trees on the other side. Well, so what happened was I was like, well, if this guy continues to follow me and I end up having to climb this long staircase, he's going to end up, it could be that he's in this narrow staircase, and there's I was like, I don't want to do hand-to-hand combat with somebody on a set of stairs, obviously. Yeah. So I turned around and I hollered at him. And I remember just making the choice to just yell at him. Great idea. And I was just like, I'm not going to imitate how I was yelling down the street. It's actually kind of embarrassing. But I was like, buddy, if you're fucking following me, you better stop right now. You better stop where you're going or turn around, or I'm going to fuck you up.
Were you
I
were
will
you in
fuck you
jiu-jitsu?
up.
Were you in jiu-jitsu at that time? Were you like, did you have any of that going on?
No,
No.
I wasn't. But I remember his reaction. Like I saw, because I could only see his silhouette. It was dark, but he literally like jumped like this. And I think I really scared him because I think that he was genuinely just going the same way on his way home.
That would
and
that
I
would-
think he was totally oblivious to the fact that he was like accidentally threatening me and making me fear for my safety.
I have walked down like
So what he did was he totally complied. He was like, I don't recall him saying anything, but he just like stopped, like made a big motion of like, I'm stopping.
I've walked down streets and thought that
Intimidated.
and wondered if I was intimidating, and then tried to change the way I was being, or just tried to be cognizant of the way I was being in order to try to not be inadvertently intimidating or inadvertently, like, you know what I'm saying, like just trying to be like for example, a good way to illustrate how I might deal with it is like I might be like, oh, I'll just pick up my phone and be like, oh, you know, like just trying to be normal, like try to create normal. If I've done this for sure, like multiple times, where I'm just like, where I think like a woman might be uncomfortable because of my presence.
I've heard my
Or
guy friends
I've just been
talk
paranoid
about-
of a woman being uncomfortable.
I've heard my guy friends talk about how they were like, well, if I walk really loudly, obviously they know I'm not trying to sneak up on anybody, so
Yeah.
that makes me a little safer. So they'd
Yeah.
walk really loudly, but then they'd see like that was frightening too.
Yeah.
My point for bringing that up is that like, yes, it is like a risk assessment that women always have to do. Or I guess even like small people, like, you don't know, if you grew up like as a small dude and you've been bullied your whole life, like I'm sure you do the same thing. But it's not, it's like somebody made the analogy where they were like, okay, say that I give you like a box of chocolates and I tell you that like one of them is poison. Are you going to try any of those boxes of chocolates?
Chocolate roulette.
Yes. It's like that. It's like people are just conditioned to have to be wary of every stranger around
I'd
them.
probably try one.
You would probably
I
try.
really love chocolate. I might try one.
Yeah.
Give me that one.
And the whole time you're like, you know, gaslighting yourself about it, where you're like, okay, this is pretty scary. Like I'm going to walk through like a narrow alley and this person's right behind me, but I'm sure it'll be fine. You know? Like,
Well, and
that's stressful
my
too.
point to this whole thing was Taylor Swift is dealing with like this, like somebody who, you know, is declaring that they have children who's, you know, I mean, just the fear of that. And, you know,
Declaring to who? Do you know the story? How he
I don't know how
managed to
specifically she
convey
got that information, but apparently that's the information she has. And then, you know, you have to think about John Lennon, and like, you have to think about like,
Yeah.
you know, what was that, Mark David Chapman, right? You have to think about these people and these situations because you don't know. And there's also been, you know, those are the ones we sort of, that, you know, that's the famous one, but, you know, Andy Warhol, whatever, you know what I mean? I don't know who killed Andy Warhol. What happened there?
I don't know. I don't know the story.
Martin Scorsese celebrates.
Wait,
the
why
U-
are you? Okay,
I'm
that's
sorry.
such a harsh pivot.
Stop. I feel bad for Taylor Swift. What a
Yeah.
shitty situation she's in. And, you know, a guilty angel says that fame is a curse. And I think fame.
It's gotta feel like a fucking curse, though.
Well, it's not a curse. It's a consequence. It's the price you pay. I had a student when I was teaching at the University of Georgia, who just didn't want to like pay a consequence. Like didn't want to pay the piper for anything. Like she was just this person who was like, who just wanted everything to just go right without any like pain or any kind of suffering or any kind of, and you know, so like she was asking me about things about the like, you know, how to navigate, for example, like getting on a movie set and working her way up in a movie set was one of the conversations we talked about. And as we were talking about it, she was talking about how like whenever I talked about like the shit you had to do, whether it was like carrying cables or something, she was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not really good at that. And she would like just say these things. But she had this idea that like there was this end goal, and at the end goal, none of that stuff existed, or that nothing uncomfortable really existed. And I tried to explain to her that at the highest level of success, whatever that is, however that is measured for you, you're going to find things you absolutely loathe to do. Every day, you're going to have to do something to have that one thing you love. Like rock stars, for example. One of the things that they have to do to be a rock star is sing the same song over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and pretend every time they do that they love it as much as the first time they did it. And if you don't think that's a burden, ask John Cougar and his relationship with Jack and Diane, or Blind Melon and No Rain, who all they ever wanted to do was just escape that song. They just need to get away from that song.
Yeah, me too.
That song
I did too.
hated them, or they hated that. They hated what that song became for them. So anyway, I just find all that kind of fascinating.
It wasn't until I was following the testimony in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial that you really get like a glimpse of how much of how like there's like this little economy of like workers and helpers and like organizers and staff that goes into making a celebrity's life function properly. And it's like, so Taylor Swift has like a whole security team. Yeah. Obviously she's been like severe,
they're never alone. They're practically never alone, basically.
Right. And like everywhere she goes, they have to have like this whole team go ahead and
she can't go shopping. Scout. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But not just scouting. Like they do
fixers.
They
basically go and fix her, and they like, they'd be like, Taylor wants to go shop in an antique store, close down the antique store.
So it's got to be so bewildering when this whole entourage is constantly.
I don't know if Taylor's that way, but yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
I don't know. It's got to be so bewildering to have this whole entourage surrounding a person and still see that the stalker is like not deterred at all. Yeah. And like still wants to.
Well, because it's a mental disorder, right?
Obviously,
yes. Yeah, they're not functioning in any kind of or any form of sense, common or otherwise.
I hope she's okay. That's scary.
Yeah, I mean, she got her restraining order, so that's a step in the right direction. I mean, she is surrounded by security. I don't think people. The one good thing is how seriously these people are taken.
Yeah.
They don't. There's no one's messing around and like. But anyway, I'm glad she got a restraining order. I hope she's. I hope she's safe. It's a sad and terrible thing, but it is a consequence of fame. It is a sort of a downside of fame, but there's a downside to everything. So you just have to sort of, in life, I think, choose the things that has more upside than downside, and then do that. And when you do that, you live through the downside. You follow?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Can we move on?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Delegates visiting Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, I know. Sounds like a good time. Have I been to Phoenix? I don't know. But the Phoenix lights are always on my mind.
I think we drove through Phoenix on this last time.
Yeah, I think we did.
Erica said, I live in the desert and it's great, right? It's great, but right now it's too hot, I bet.
Yeah, the desert. Like I said, I've only ever been to it, but it's hot. The summer is hot. Fucking LA. July is no joke. LA July is.
I know. I think I remember September being exceptionally cruel.
Can be cruel for sure.
Guilty Angel got into like a fight with a neighbor.
That sucks. No, man.
You gotta chill, Guilty Angel. You can't let people get under your skin.
Well, I'm sorry that
especially
happened.
With this weekend. Everybody just needs to.
Well, that's a great point.
Take a chill pill.
That's a really great point. Listen, if something gets you so agitated that it's going to cause some kind of disturbance, back away from it, man. Mm-hmm. Take a step back, take a breath, do whatever. Remember this conversation. Just don't engage in it. This is a bad weekend to get into anything fiery. It really is a bad weekend for that. And also it can be kind of tricky because there's a part of this weekend that where you might feel compelled, like drawn to it, like where you might want to, especially if you're involved in it. Like for example, something as little as you're driving down the road, you could be driving down the road and you could be seeing somebody. Maybe there's peaceful protesters, since that's in the news so much. Some peaceful protesters that you agree with or disagree with, and you might feel a certain, you might feel compelled to like participate. Don't, just fucking don't.
Not this weekend.
Not this weekend.
Maybe later.
Another time.
Not this weekend.
Not this weekend.
I think a lot of people mistake feelings of anger, like when you get struck with a feeling of anger because somebody has provoked it, like they're genuinely being like the biggest asshole on the planet.
Right.
I think people mistake their feelings of anger for direction when it's really just supposed to be information. Yeah. Like anger informs you about what is unjust or wrong in the moment, or how
Sure.
somebody is hurting somebody else or something. It's information.
Yeah,
You're
no,
supposed to use that,
Yeah.
but it's got so much initiative behind it. I feel like people mistake it for direction. You're never supposed to act on the anger. You're supposed to let it inform you so that you can act responsibly.
That is so much
in
easier
another
said
way.
than done, and particularly when it comes to your signs. You don't tell a Scorpio that; they're not going to listen to that. Scorpio's going to be like, "No,
No, the Scorpios though, they know how to like wait until the cover of darkness.
oh sure, no, they'll
and
wait."
strategize a way to win.
But they're not. But they're going to embrace the. As a Scorpio, I could say I embrace it. Anyway, so there's that. So by the way, so Martin Scorsese was celebrating the U.S. Immigrants at Taormina. I don't know where that is.
Tormina?
Taormina? Where is that? Is that a
It sounds, what is it? Italy?
Taormina? Must be, right? With the exception of Native Americans, we're either all immigrants, children of immigrants, or descendants of immigrants.
Oh, is that a film festival or something?
Oh, it may be. But anyway, this is a quote in Variety where he says, with the exception of Native Americans, we're all either immigrants, children of immigrants, or descendants of immigrants. And I was struck by that little note. And the reason why I was struck by that note is just because, I don't know, man. Like, I just really think that that's not an entirely true statement. And it just bothers me when I see it.
I'm sorry. Taormina is a town in Sicily.
I thought it might be.
But what were you saying?
He was just talking about how he was celebrating U.S. immigrants.
Yeah.
And then he was just talking about how, with the exception of Native Americans, we're all immigrants.
Okay.
And that's not really true.
Why?
Well, because like nobody immigrated to the United States when they invaded it and took it from the natives at all. That was not an immigration. The Native Americans didn't have like an immigration policy. They didn't have like a, hey, you got to go through this process and we'll stamp you in and bring you. They invaded a land, right? And they conquered it. And
Yeah,
then
but it is immigration.
Is that immigration?
It's just not in this bureaucratic way you're thinking. But yeah.
So as a fundamental.
Like you immigrate to another country.
I thought there was a
whether
different
it's-
word for that. I thought that was like conquering or like what were the conquistadors?
Whether people do it legally or illegally, when you transfer your life from one country to another, you're immigrating.
It just sounds so like, I don't know, not true. You know what I mean? It's like,
Why?
we're all immigrants. You'd be like, well, and murderers then, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, okay, well, then we're all murderers. You know, like, I don't know. It just...
Well,
It's a statement that bothered me. I'm just saying it bothered
I do
me.
agree. It is a little eye rolly because
so eye-rolly.
people can say all of this, right? They'll be
Yeah.
like, "We're all
We're all immigrants.
Yeah, until you start to talk to them about the land back movement.
Right. Until you exactly
You're
bring
like-
that up or bring up
you're like,
reparations or...
So I'm with you. We're all immigrants.
Yeah.
You want to take that one step further?
Yeah.
Like it's like the natural conclusion
Right.
of that line of thinking.
Exactly.
Oh, you don't?
It's loaded, right? It's just a loaded statement.
No, what I mean is like it's very convenient for these people who are like, multi-generational, like way back immigrants to be like, well, we're all immigrants. And then when you start to talk about like, oh, well, what about, returning the land?
Yeah.
I don't want to have that conversation.
Or
anymore.
even just going reparations for people who,
Right. They don't want to have that conversation.
For the immigrants that you enslaved. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we're all immigrants. Some of them were slaves. Some of them are most of Black America are descendants of slaves. They're not descendants of immigrants at all. So it gets on my
would
nerves.
just
It's
love
like
for
it's
all
just
of-
like America's more complex than that. It's a part of what makes this country, on the one hand, great, and on the other hand, extremely volatile and sort of like I don't know, where there's like definitive lines, not just racially, but just like principally, and so on and so forth. So that's a part of the American dynamic. So it's just when you
I'm just
come out
never
with
going to
some,
push back on that, though. I'm never going to push back on a privileged like white person saying we're all immigrants and so we shouldn't be.
yeah,
judging
I mean,
these other immigrants.
it's just
like, that's
to me
a
it's like
wonderful place to
stating the
start.
obvious. But yes,
Yeah.
it's like stating the obvious.
It is like stating the
Yeah.
obvious, and sometimes it's great to state the obvious because then you're like, okay, great, we all have this middle ground.
I understand
We
why
all
he's
have the
doing
same
it.
Footing.
Yeah,
to
I understand
begin.
why he's doing it. The timing for it's good. His intentions are good. I'm not trying to shit on Martin Scorsese. I'm just saying it tickles a bone, in like my little irritation in me about over.
So it is a bit of like a low calorie sweetener though. Like
Right.
he's not really making any big revolutionary statement. Like
Yeah.
he's not really taking like a
There's no chances in that.
Like
There's no
stance.
message there. There's no message. We're all immigrants.
which is fine. Like I don't expect that from Martin Scorsese or anybody, but
And there might have been, right? It's just I'm looking at this one quote. He might have had a 20-minute speech that got into things that would make me cry. I have no idea what actually happened, so this isn't necessarily a slight on him in any way. It's just like a headline. And there's the other thing about like the way in which I'm operating in this whole thing is I'm opining on things that really just they strike me, and then I'm like, I'm going to opine on this. So this isn't about Martin Scorsese so much. And again, I know the man's intentions are good, and it's true that I loved him, and then ever since he like got into this love affair with Leo, I like him,
so you're looking for ways to be like, you're wrong, Scorsese.
No, I don't want to call him out. I don't want to call him out for wrong, unless like I'm not looking for any trouble with Martin Scorsese, but I wouldn't mind if he got on my side since he's a film preservationist. It would be nice if he like maybe put a word in for a guy whose film's being suppressed in the
Dale?
fucking new millennium. What?
Dale, I think maybe you're being affected by the Mars Square Uranus
I am.
transit.
Did you know that when Angela and I moved to Georgia, we met this? I got into a dart league, and then like we started playing darts with these people. I'm a good dart player, like really good. I can throw 180.
I don't shout like that.
I had to.
It's not good.
And one of the dart players that I played with in my team, she was really good. She's the mother of Suge Knight's child. Like his ex. And it's a funny thing. It was just like a weird, like random thing to be happening. Be like, we're in this small town in Georgia, absolutely. And I'm like guy who's been sued by Leonardo DiCaprio, had his life turned upside down, and her baby's daddy is Suge Knight in jail. It was a weird situation. And Suge Knight, by the way, he came up today, and I always think about her every time Suge Knight comes up, because every now and then he like hollers from jail. He's like, yo.
You guys want to know what
Is wrong.
You guys want to know what I think about it?
Yeah. So Suge Knight's weighed in on Diddy, and he said that Diddy belongs in prison for assaulting Cassie. He said, never disrespect a woman like that. Wow. And I'm just thinking, like, you got a guy sitting doing life and shit, and he's
broken clock is right twice a day, I guess. Look at me agreeing with Suge Knight.
Yeah. Suge Knight dropping wisdom down. Well, it's an interesting thing about Suge Knight, because I had a chance to speak at length with her about him. We were even talking about potentially me writing a documentary around him and, his son and all of that. There was some talk. I think I quickly withdrew. I think we all did, really. She hangs around with Kid Rock. I was like, I'm out. Like in my head, you know what I mean? I'm like, ooh, that's just not my speed. But we did talk a lot about him, and the guy sounds like a fucking sweetheart. I'm like his her version of Suge Knight is a Suge Knight I would like totally like. I'd probably cuddle with him if he'd probably hit me with a blunt object, but for doing it. But he was just really kind of a sweet dude by her version. But anyway, there he is opining on Diddy's situation and saying that he should just go to prison just for assaulting Cassie alone, which I don't disagree with. I don't, as far as prison goes, I don't know how to quantify any of that, because America's prison system is such a broken mess anyway, and there's no understanding of how people are really truly rehabilitated. Most of that rehabilitation seems to come from
there's no rehabilitation,
self-regret, or like fear, or like just
they don't even try to rehabilitate people.
Right. It doesn't seem so. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I know.
It's just person storage. That's all it is.
A little something on Suge Knight.
Do you want to hear from the chat?
Yes.
Hi is asking on YouTube, you know how Leo called himself Braveheart?
Motherfucker.
Has he ever been in a fight or hit anyone at that time? Because to me, he doesn't look very intimidating.
It was laughable. It was hard not to laugh when it happened. He had his arms like gangly, his like elbows like, fucking Braveheart, motherfucker. I chop heads, man. It was literally stupid. The only thing I was afraid of is what he was going to do to my career. Do you know what I mean? Like, if he came at me physically, I was not afraid of that. There was absolutely nobody in that room that I was afraid of physically at all. I think Kevin Connolly would have been the most feisty of them all because he's like a hockey player. He's kind of like a, you know. But Leo DiCaprio is just not an intimidating fellow. And besides that, when I told that to Jerry, Jerry was like, I guess he doesn't know anything about Braveheart. He goes, I don't think he understands Braveheart then, if he's Braveheart motherfucker. That's a funny question, though. Thank you for asking it.
That's a really funny question. Because he doesn't look very intimidating.
He's not very intimidating. He's very beautiful in his own way, but he's not intimidating.
The chat is talking about saunas. Do you like saunas?
I used to love them. But a little hard on the respiratory, so I ended up getting more into steam later.
How's it hard on the respiratory? Oh, just
I have like, yeah. I don't, I was a smoker for so many years, so I walk in, I'm just like, that's and then my lungs, everything just shuts down. I'm like, oh my God, am I gonna live? And then I just got to go through this process of like, I guess where it's like a sphincter or something that just finally loosens, and I'm like, okay, all right, I can breathe this hot ass air because it burns, and I think fucking. Yeah. You ever take a deep breath in a sauna? It's like,
it's or like
through your nose, like.
It's a mistake.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
They say that the reason why Matthew Perry passed away was because
Maddie. But yeah, go ahead.
His friends call him Maddie.
Yeah, Maddie. Yeah.
Didn't he call himself Batman or something? I can't remember. He was like obsessed with Batman. Like he was.
Is
Batman.
that true?
Yes.
Really? Really?
Yeah. It should have been a really big red flag that he was back on drugs because he was like.
I'm Batman.
Really into it.
No, you're not. You're Matt.
Anyway,
Perry.
my point is that the coroners thought that the medical examiner believed that it was because he went into a hot tub, and that is a vasodilator, and that it makes, because it dilates your blood vessels when you get into a hot environment.
Yeah. That
it will make your heart pump faster, and sometimes that is too much stress on a diseased heart.
Uh-huh.
So
well, it would be.
I don't go in hot tubs anymore. I don't do heat rooms. I don't
do you
do
ever see
any of
the
that stuff
Eddie Murphy hot tub bit?
Yeah.
Will it make me wet? Yeah. Will it make me sweat?
Yeah.
Hi.
We're going to have to play it.
Hot in the hot tub.
When we edit this, we're going to have to play it so it doesn't sound so weird.
It's going to be hot in the hot tub.
He was doing a parody of James Brown, right?
James Brown, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, because if you've ever seen, like, the funniest stand-up comedy when I was growing up was 100% Delirious.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Eddie Murphy Delirious. Oh my God!
In our house too.
Split laughing, crying. I don't know.
He was the biggest comedian ever.
Never has there been a singular like stand-up comic moment in my life that I've watched that made me laugh that hard the first time I saw it, ever. Nothing since. I remember he spoiled comedy in that way.
I remember in our house, my parents were always watching Delirious and Raw and a bunch of George Carlin. My mom was.
I hated Raw.
My mom loved George Carlin. She would always. We had his like records and everything.
Isn't it like Raw where he changed? You remember the ice cream cone was like that big funny bit. I had some ice cream.
I know he did
then he did it with a burger.
He did a bunch more like characters and stuff. It doesn't hold up, I don't think.
It was the first time I learned that black women throw their shoes at their children. I never heard of that before. And then it's like, can you remember that bit? Is it not
Look at me in the midst of a cultural exploration.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. I just heard about a new documentary today that I'm very excited about because it's a new one on Barbara Walters that delves into the unflattering truth of her life. And so I'm all ears.
Oh, look out the turntables.
I'm all ears about that. Is she still alive? No, she's...
I don't think she's with us any longer.
Yeah, Barbara Walters is at the big lie in the sky.
Yeah, that's funny because she put everybody in a bunch of uncomfortable interviews, and so now they're like, "Oh, it's our turn, Barbara."
Are you interested in that? Will you watch that with me?
I'll watch it with you, but I'm not very interested in
I'll
it.
bow out if it's bad, but
I'm more interested in the
anything that hates on her, I'm down.
I'm more interested in the Martha Stewart one.
Yeah, I'm down on that one too. Do you remember that guy when the Diddy thing broke? And this guy, and there was like the rumor of Martha Stewart doing rails off of like hookers or something. Did you hear about this? Where like somebody's butt crack or something, she was like doing rails off of it, and this guy
First
showed
of all,
up.
that's very impractical. I'm not sure that makes a whole lot of sense.
So this guy,
it's not very believable.
This guy who was like at the Diddy parties, he was like, "Look, man, I know there's a rumor about Barbara Walters doing rails off of somebody's
Martha Stewart
or Martha Stewart."
Because that's even
Who did
funnier.
I say? Martha.
Is it Barbara Walters? Can you imagine? And she's like, pass that dollar bill.
Barbara Walters. It's like,
I
give me
can't do
that.
an
I'll give it a try.
I can't do an impression.
Anyway, but this dude, he was like, Martha Stewart. He was like, look, I didn't know. I did not see her doing rails off of somebody's butt crack, but she was there, and she was crazy.
Good for her. Alyssa is really sweet. You'll like this.
Yes.
Alyssa said, "I'm exhausted though because I just got back from a shift at the hospitals.
Wow.
Overnight one. So all day I was looking forward to ordering sushi and joining this live."
Oh, that's so sweet. I hope we're
That's
having fun.
sweet.
I hope you're having fun.
Guilty Angel said might get sushi as well. We Dale and I are perfecting our homemade sushi.
Yes.
It is not very easy,
Well,
but it's very fun.
It's good. It's great. I mean, I don't know. Are you saying I don't make a good sushi? Hey.
I'm saying that like I can never roll it like they do in the restaurants.
Well, we'll get practice.
My sushi rolls are always like loose and disappointing.
I'm excited about the Babs documentary. I'm
Babs?
excited about you guys eating sushi. And yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I'm still not over the trial today. I mean the closing arguments.
Yeah, let's go back to it. So the closing arguments with Alan Jackson.
Erica said, "You shouldn't be able to convict someone on a possibility, but juries are unpredictable and they always make me nervous."
Yeah, you can't. I mean, it's literally against the instruction of the court. That's why I just don't think that there's a possibility. I don't think there's going to be a possibility that there's at least not one juror who is going to sit there and say they did not prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty. And the moral certainty is a really nice clause to that because it it speaks to the gravity of the situation. Mm-hmm. You're making a moral judgment here. This isn't willy-nilly. A woman could go to jail for a minimum of 5 years if she gets the manslaughter.
But 5 to 20.
5 to 20 on that, and then 25 to life on the murder. Which I will say that, like, I don't know, if I was a betting man, and because I'm sure fucking Vegas is all up in it. I would put my money on that she 100% will not be convicted of murder. That's not going to happen. It's a 0%. I don't think she can get convicted of anything. His closing argument was utterly perfect. Like Alan Jackson's. It was a perfect. The whole time, Karen Reed was like picked like a frame, like just sat there, kind of just looking stoically. You could feel the weight and the gravity of the moment, like it was there. It was present in her face. She was extremely stoic through the whole thing. I couldn't help but keep my eyes on her as much as possible, and through that whole really incredible delivery by Alan Jackson, theatrical, but yet natural. Like nothing about it felt like he was, obviously he was sitting there reading his notes. Like it was all apparent for us to see that he wasn't improvising, but yet it came off so natural, so beautiful. And one thing I read about De Niro a long time ago about what he said. It doesn't matter about the choices that you make. All you have to know is the lines so well that you can be whatever you're being in the moment and let the lines flow through. And then everything will be natural because you can just be what you are and then just say the line. Just say the line. You know what the line is. So it was about the memorization of each line. And then obviously you're building and working toward the mood, the tone and all that with the director and the writer and the other actors and so on and so forth. So everything fits in as a puzzle piece goes. But I think what you saw in Alan Jackson versus really Brennan, who I felt like I felt like I could have done a better job. And believe me, that's not saying much, because I would have shown up with like papers and I'd been like, let me just, I'd be that guy, pulling out this paper. And there's this, how you guys, I am. As I'm in these lives, I'll jump from one top. We're back on Karen Reed, for example.
Well, Brennan, it really surprised me. He's all fired up and he's really antagonistic and he's like really, like he has got energy, I guess. And when he gave his closing arguments, he was like sleepy.
He was sleepy.
It was weird. He was so low energy. It was like he didn't even believe it himself. He also was making a bunch of points. They seemed really scattered. I actually had a hard time following what he was saying. And
well, we don't know. We don't know what Welcher said to him, because he was planning to do a rebuttal. He was bringing Welcher in, and then the testimony happened. What changed? And I think it was a conversation with Welcher. And I bet you Welcher said something to the effect of, "You didn't show me those. Had you showed me those, it would have changed my testimony. Yeah. If you put me on the stand, you're going to lose this case for sure." Now, on the one hand, I think that
I just don't believe that Welcher is some principled person who isn't just trying to continue to.
Well, he wouldn't. That's not a principled thing. There's nothing principled about that. What would have been the principled thing to do is like, you should put me on the stand, and then go on the stand and then tell the truth. That would be the principled thing, because a woman is up to. He's like, in the scenario we just built. He's saying, "Don't put me on the stand, because then the truth will come out, and this woman who's not guilty will get acquitted." That's pretty scummy. That's like as low as it gets, actually. You can't get lower than that. That means he's willing to send a woman to jail who didn't do it, which happens so often, or has happened so often in these parts. I'm sure it's true for everywhere, but my goodness. My goodness.
What's your prediction? How long do you think it's going to take for the jury?
Stephen said we're both looking good. I'm kind of wearing like t-shirts and hoodies, but thank you so much. I wish I could see you and return the compliment, but I'm sure you look as lovely as ever. Good sir.
Dale.
Yes.
What is your prediction? How long do you think the jury is going to deliberate?
I think that I think the verdict will be in on Monday. I think that we're probably close to a verdict today.
Do you want to predict what time on Monday? Do you want to put down a prediction?
I think the verdict will be in Monday before lunch. Oh. Or if not, my prediction is that it'll be in on Monday, and I say there's a good chance it might even be in on Monday before lunch.
Well, I don't know that we'll know what time lunch is, because it's not like the court is doing anything.
Whenever they say, they're like, the jury is broken for lunch, because they fall and they're like, and they walk them into the bathroom. Hey, you got any news? The guy's like, bro, you're looking. Eyes up. I think Monday, and the reason I think Monday is because I think they probably could have. I wouldn't be surprised if they could have had a verdict today, because
I know. I'm kind of surprised I didn't.
It is, but you might have had somebody like, you might have had a few jurors thinking that she did hit him. It's hard to believe anyone would, considering the X-ray. I just said X-ray.
Erica said, I couldn't talk to Welcher about the X-rays because there is a sequestration order in place. So Welcher would have been completely ambushed by the X-rays. Oh, they did not. Okay, great.
Oh, that's right. There was a sequestration.
They couldn't talk to
a sequestration order. That's
right.
Right.
That's interesting.
That's right. You're right. That's true. You're absolutely right about that.
Oh, Guilty Angel says the audio is going in and out.
Our audio is going in and out. Okay. Is that true for everybody else? That's guys, let me know if the audio is going in and out.
And then we both go quiet.
I see on my, everything looks good on my panel. I have a panel, and the panel tells me what's up, Joe, and it's like, yo, it looks pretty good. And now I'm just saying things senselessly to try and give my audio. What's going on in here? We got some stuff going on here on what do we got? But I thought it was.
Do you want to hear from the
TikTok
chat on TikTok?
Yeah, let's hear the TikTok chat. What's going on TikTok?
Oh, Leo Edit said you should send your book to Kaya Gerber. She has a book club.
Okay.
She is Cindy Crawford's daughter.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she'll take my call. Excuse me, will you please read my book? It's delicious.
Suzanne Bellestino on TikTok said, Jen McCabe told 911, in quotes, he was out there for a couple hours. How did she know? No one else said anything.
Yeah.
How did she know?
How did she know?
And why did she call the Albert house before they went over? Before they went over there,
yeah,
she called them.
She
had a 1-minute conversation, but she won't say what happened.
The things that resonated with me were in Jackson's speech, in his closing, were that he pointed out, and I love that because we did this with the Justin Baldoni case. He used at least 3 instances of the Commonwealth's witnesses that prove that there's more than enough reasonable doubt, beyond any moral certainty or uncertainty, that that Karen Reed committed this crime. So he did that brilliantly. One of the moments that I remember standing out particularly large for me was when he talked about how, like, when he went down the list, he was like, EMTs, police, hysterical screaming, Karen, people giving resuscitation. There's a dead police officer on the front lawn and the lights don't even come on.
Right outside his bedroom window.
And
those people in that house, they're just 30 feet away from where all of this is happening.
Like, I mean,
they're not awake or aware or coming out or seeing.
We've all in our lifetime.
They're hiding in their house.
They're hiding in the house. We've all in our lifetime seen a major accident scene at least once in our life.
Everybody rubbernecks. Even if you have no idea what's
happening,
you
got to rubberneck that. And it's also like there's
look.
so much light in the middle of the night. Now, remember, everything's covered in snow too. And let me tell you, if you haven't lived in a place covered in snow, when you start putting bright lights on snow, it's a big giant bounce board. Those lights are bouncing everywhere. There's nothing absorbing it.
Also, it's not like there's a bunch of neighborhood noise either. It's the loudest thing happening in that entire neighborhood.
Exactly. And there had to have been sirens. There had to have been just absolute chaos.
Even just Karen Reed screaming. We
well,
can hear it from
what Jackson did so
audio.
well was he quoted the opening statements of Brennan when Brennan said it was bedlam. Brennan called it bedlam.
Yeah.
And
he's like, that's interesting,
isn't it? The Alberts
why didn't they wake up?
Didn't even come out. And Jen McCabe, sister-in-law to one of the residents of that house, didn't even go and check and make sure everyone was okay. Had no idea, no way she could have any idea unless she knew what
that they were
happened.
Okay. Yeah.
She would not know whether or not they were okay. And she just showed up and saw, by her own description, somebody she knew and cared about, dead, or apparently dead, bleeding, with black eyes, cuts to the face. What a horror show. Karen Reed getting up from mouth to mouth, covered in his blood on her face.
It's super
weird. And she didn't go and check to make sure everybody was okay in that house filled with her loved ones.
Because he's also not wearing a coat. He apparently
missing a shoe.
He's missing a shoe that might have been in that house. Alan Jackson made a point of saying that they found a drinking glass on the broken in the vicinity of where John O'Keefe was found. And they were like, that's so weird, because where else would you find a drinking glass? Oh, maybe in a kitchen, in a house?
Right.
Like, there were all of these things that tied John O'Keefe in that moment, whether correctly or not, tied him to the inside of that house. Where was his coat? Where was his other shoe? Where did that glass come from?
And the glass on the bumper.
He was on the front lawn of that house.
And the way
Why wouldn't they check inside the house?
Yep. And the way Jackson painted Proctor,
mm-hmm.
and Brennan looks stupid in his closing argument when he said, "We didn't need Proctor. We didn't need him. We had all the evidence. We had the data.
Mm-hmm.
Data.
The data that he had to change halfway through.
Jamming on about data, and the actual fucking data that he didn't want to talk about, the data he did not talk about in his closing arguments, the data that he could not get around during the trial, was the data created by ARCA. The irrefutable data that, and this is the other thing that the jury saw today in this closing argument by Jackson. By the way, the other thing that was really slick is Jackson's like doing his closing argument, and that dude behind, there was a guy, if you guys watched any of the footage of the trial, there's a big chinned dude. He's got a big chin. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
He sits in the back. I don't know what his name is. I always think he's
He
looking
works for the defense. He's running their slides.
their AV and stuff. But I always think he's like an attorney who's like longing to be at the sidebar. Like because he always like when they're on sidebar, he just looks and he kind of he has that look on his face.
Yeah,
like,
he's probably like a paralegal.
In his head, being like, one day, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be like, no, Your Honor, I need to get this on the record.
Okay, but what about him?
Well, he was running the AV for Jackson's closing argument, so Jackson barely didn't have to say anything. They were all cued. Like at one point, they were like in sync as the pages were turning, and he was putting his AV up. And fucking Brendan, during Brendan's, he was like, get me a slide, blah, blah, blah. And it was just like really kind of it didn't have that flow to it where he was like. It makes a difference. It makes such a big difference. His was so creamy. It was like silky smooth, you know? And then Brendan's up there like flipping through papers. And interestingly enough, when you look at their actual like workstations during the trial, right? Like when you look at Karen Reed's side, they all had like laptops up. They're all like at the same angle. It looks like just this uniform, like we're a team and we work exactly alike and we're all on the same chat, you know? And then you look over at Brennan and nobody has a laptop and there's just mountains of paper.
Yeah, I know.
It's like they're fucking 1935 and and then 2025 going at it. It's pretty funny.
Leo Edit says, what is this weekend? I'm scared now. That's what we were saying.
Yes.
Lay low this weekend.
Yes. Well, just there's like some funky astrology over the weekend. Like Mars is tripping with Uranus. There's a couple squares going that you just want to avoid. Let's just say from an astrological weather perspective, yeah, it's a little...
It's stormy weather. It is stormy astrological weather.
By the way, we got some folks on TikTok. So, by the way, I'm Dale, and you're hearing Dale Wheatley. I wrote and produced a movie called Don's Plum with Leonardo DiCaprio. We ended up in a dispute that was 30 years, that's been running for 30 years. And it all culminates in the book behind me called Too Real, a Hollywood Memoir. And I'm on YouTube and on TikTok opining about, things that, things that interest us. So if you ever want to see Angelo, though, you'd have to jump over and see us over at TikTok or on YouTube, and you can get that link in my bio. Thanks for stopping by. Go ahead, Angelo. I just wanted to we got 30, 40 people over here. So
on TikTok, mlala81 says the fact that there was not a verdict today worries me for mistrial.
Well, no, they didn't have it long enough. I think I wouldn't doubt if they were like, guys, we gotta we should have at least a conversation. Like somebody going, I want to at least talk about, I don't think there's anything to worry about. I think if they don't have here's the other thing about worrying about it. It doesn't matter. Both scenarios are good for her. A really long deliberation means a hung jury.
Does it?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly indicates the possibility of a hung jury.
If somebody thinks that she is not guilty, they're not going to be swayed towards guilt.
Her worst case scenario is a hung jury, and a hung jury isn't going to come until Wednesday or Thursday next week. So if she gets a hung jury, we've been there. We know a hung jury. First of all, we know that they're going to come back 2 or 3 times because the judge is going to send them back.
Yeah.
The judge isn't going to just take a hung jury, so they're going to come back 2 or 3 times. So we're going to know probably by Tuesday if they don't have a verdict by the end of Monday, if there's some kind of a hung situation, hung jury.
I do think it's really interesting how very difficult it is for the prosecution to succeed in a conviction.
Yeah.
Because if you have a jury and you say that some people on the jury believe that she is innocent, right? That she's been wrongfully charged.
Yeah.
You're never going to convince that person that beyond a reasonable doubt that she is guilty, ever. Right. You're never going to be able to get them off of not guilty after they've seen all the evidence. Mm-hmm. But somebody that does believe that she's guilty can get worked on to sow doubt. Yes. And all they need is a little bit of doubt. They have to be absolutely certain that she's guilty and know exactly how the accident happened,
right,
and what exactly happened after, and that was the burden on the prosecution, and they have not made that case.
And they're going to have to withstand the other jurors. They're going to have to stand. They're going to have to sit and be staunch when other jurors are saying, "Why wasn't there a bruise? Why wasn't there a break?"
Yeah, look at the X-rays again. How much do you believe that he or
the X-rays are the most compelling evidence?
The most damning thing to me was when Welcher showed a comparable car strike at 25 miles per hour, where the victim was thrown 10 feet.
Jackson killed on this on the closing.
It was so awesome. But he I mean, the crash wasn't awesome. The poor victim did not survive. But he used this example of a car that struck a guy, and and the taillight broke, and the guy was thrown, and he had a head injury. So he used that, but he neglected to like edit out, to make his point, the picture of the car, and the car was dented and scraped up to shit. From striking a person. It was
severely damaged.
Yes, it was severely screwed up. It was like you had to replace 2 panels in the car.
Yeah, well, no, he had to replace the bumper, the bumper cover, the quarter panel, and the hood.
Yeah,
there was like a whole there was like quite like 4 panels.
The car was like gnarly.
Yeah, and of course the person was deceased, and they were visibly damaged.
Yeah, and they also had like liver lacerations. They had internal injuries that John O'Keefe didn't have. And so you just have to like.
So Jackson nailed that though. But Jackson nailed that, like in his closing when he was just like. He put the slides up and he goes, this is what a car looks like when it hits a pedestrian at 25 miles an hour.
That's right.
And where did we get this information? We got it from the Commonwealth. Like this is what I was talking about as far as the Jackson just constantly, I mean, he just fucking destroyed them, in my opinion. Like what a great lawyer, really. Mm-hmm. And like, obviously he has facts in his favor. It's not like he's like. It was interesting because, like you said, it was the greatest closing arguments you'd ever seen. For me, that's Johnny Cochran. Because I believe Karen Reed is innocent. I don't believe that there was a collision. I believe exactly what Jackson said in his opening remarks, which there was no collision. I believe that. I believed pretty much right away that, in all likelihood, O.J. Simpson killed his wife and killed her lover.
I think that's why I could never.
So Johnny Cochran being able to do a closing argument to get that dude, free from that. That's like wow.
I think that's why I could never gel with Johnny Cochran's performance in that and admire it.
Yeah.
Because I thought his client was guilty, and I know that I know everybody deserves a fair trial and robust defense.
Yeah.
Even if they're guilty people.
Yeah.
But
Almost Baked on TikTok. We should probably hit TikTok's comments. I don't know if they're flying or not, but we got like 71 people there.
Yeah, well,
but anyway,
what do you want me to do? Interrupt you?
Withholding the X-ray was enough, says Almost Baked, and like this is it. Yeah. Withholding the X-ray was enough. Like that's crazy, dude. That is crazy, especially when it's. I mean, it's exculpatory, right? It absolutely proves that she was not, or that he was not hit by a car. It just proves it.
Also, Elefante on TikTok said that Jen McCabe also told 911 that when they approached John O'Keefe that he was face down, she said that they rolled him over. So it would be kind of hard to have a head injury on the back of his head.
If he's laying on his front.
If he was, if he fell down.
That's right. They did say that. That's true.
Because they were trying to set him up to be struck by a snowplow.
Also, the blood evidence is weird. The blood evidence the way in which it's spilled on, the way like how does when you try to put the map together? Because if he hit his head and then went to the ground, then it would have pooled. It wouldn't have streamed downward. It almost goes down in a V.
I think that they set him on the lawn face down on purpose because they wanted to make it seem like he got struck in the back of the head by the big snowplow shovel.
Crawled.
No, by the big snowplow shovel. So he got struck and then fell forward. Yeah.
Well, you know what was weird for me? Because I didn't see this in Jackson's closing. I hadn't seen this during the trial. I guess I was blinking. But I didn't see Higgins practicing the wrestling.
No, me neither. Nor did I see that it was Albert's car that was moving over to where that had moved from in front of his house to over to on the street to where John O'Keefe was found.
Well, let me finish because
were they hiding the body when they stashed it?
Let me finish this point because this point is I'm going somewhere. I didn't know that there was this wrestling but it was like trained wrestling. I'm not talking like wrestling around boys. I'm talking like high school wrestling, the sport, the Olympic sport, Olympic wrestling.
That's right.
They were here, and it was like the guys got moves. Like you and I studied. I fought wrestlers. I'm a white belt, but I fought wrestlers for a couple years. I know wrestlers. To the
These
extent
guys got drunk in a bar and were like play fighting.
Well, no, maybe not. But here's the thing: the next thing that Jackson showed was he showed what every single expert said they agreed was the cause of the head injury, and they showed the body falling backward and striking the head against a hard surface, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what wrestlers do.
Yep.
They do. They double. He probably went in for a double, right, and got under them, and then just pull, and then they drive you down with the shoulder in your chest. They'll drive your whole head down, and your head will slam. In fact, on so many occasions, in my feed, I have like whatever. There'll be like I don't know what feed it is, but like, our what the fuck would be like, the old school. I don't subscribe to that anymore, but old school are what the fuck. When I was subscribed to that, I saw, I don't know how many of those where people were fighting and somebody was wrestling and then they just rendered somebody completely out cold, if not killed them, by taking them down in that fashion. If Higgins took him down like that in that garage, because I had seen the testimony where Higgins had his hand restrained.
Yeah.
I saw all that. But this was the first time I saw any of that action of him like doing that wrestling, because I didn't know he could do that. Well, that injury to me is easily created
From somebody driving you down.
from Higgins doing a single or a double,
knows,
a double takedown, a double leg takedown for real. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. If you're enjoying it, please like our TikTok live, and come over and visit us on YouTube as well if you want to see Angela. She's
Dr. Susan on TikTok
fun to look at.
Dr. Susan on TikTok said they were busy washing, bleaching, and peroxiding all the surfaces and drains when they were. When Karen Reed discovered his body.
You said that you heard that they had the basement floor replaced. Is that true?
Yeah.
Is that true?
I heard that from other people, but
I wonder if it's true. Either way, they didn't get in the house.
Tiffy Morgan said his socks were never in evidence either. Did you know that?
That's true. His socks were never in evidence.
Elefante said, was he wearing a coat at all during the night? Meaning, did he go to the club with a coat? Apparently he didn't. I remember Karen Reed talking about how he never really walked in. He
customarily did not wear. He was actually anti-coat.
Yeah, well, he was just going from like the car to some building.
Dude, I know so many dudes. Like I had a friend in Philly. Like this guy, he was like a huge dude, and just never ever.
Because it's just uncomfortable.
He wore a sweater. That was it. And it would be cold, like bitterly cold, and he'd just be in a sweater.
Oh, Lala81 said, yes, they deliberated for a little less than 2 hours and then dismissed.
Yeah, you're not going to get a verdict in 2 hours. That would have been like, there are 3 charges. There's going to be, I think in the worst case scenario that she's facing, she's looking at a hung jury. And if it's a hung jury, then we're going to be here till Wednesday or Thursday next week, chewing nails.
Elefante says, do the jurors go home for the weekend?
Yes.
And have to just chew on this in their brain, or are they sequestered?
No, they're going home. They're done till Monday. It's a wrap. This is not a sequestered jury.
They're not sequestered? I think they still are.
They're not sequestered. They're under a sequestration order, but they're not sequestered. To be sequestered would mean that they would be in hotel rooms and they would have like literally be monitored.
Yeah, I think that they're advised not to talk about.
Yeah, they're under a
sequestration
order. But
I don't know if they get to go home.
Danny Masterson jury deliberated for 8 days, says Erica on YouTube. And that's true. Danny Masterson's 8 days, and he got convicted and went away for 30 years. So the longer the deliberation, if it gets into that kind of situation, the worse that'll be for Karen Reed. I'm sorry, for sure.
Kai Babe said on TikTok, I swear if it's another mistrial.
No, they want that because the Commonwealth will not. With a mistrial, in my opinion, is a win. For the defense, 100%.
Yeah, because she goes free.
Not only does she go through free, they're not going to try her a third time. They're not going to do it. If they can't convict her on this round, they win on a mistrial. As far as they're concerned. And obviously, Karen Reed wants vindication. Obviously, she wants to be, she wants a verdict in her favor. But if she gets a hung jury, she's still going to be on all the TV shows.
Yeah. Kai Babe says, remind me how double jeopardy works. I learned it in criminal justice and completely forgot. I think
you just can't be tried for the same crime twice, where there was a verdict rendered. So if there's a verdict, that's it. That's the verdict. They can't try you again. But I don't think that applies to every crime. I think that double jeopardy only applies to certain crimes. Well, I'm not entirely sure about that. And I don't know if it's adopted by every state or if that's a federal law. I really liked the movie. I remember
PCAM
that.
said Blue Paint Kindergarten Project or whatever he said was the best.
Yeah, the kindergarten. Yeah, he said that. He called it a kindergarten project. Come on. Well, and this is the thing is, I'm glad you brought that up because like he said that shit, and then Brennan in his closing, he said he basically belittled his whole thing. And on top of that, here's what was so brilliant about all this. So Jackson said he used $400,000. Brennan, the Commonwealth used $400,000 of your taxpayer money to recreate, to put up for you a recreation of an accident that real experts are saying was completely worthless and provided no actual data or information whatsoever. Then when Brennan went and did his fucking closing, he stood up and said, well, we weren't trying to recreate everything. We were just trying to give you a general proximity idea.
Right.
Listen to me. He brought up his expert witness, his whole expert, but like that statement is doubt. He just said,
that's right.
And by the way, that was another masterstroke by Jackson because he talked about how when he was drilled, Wexler was drilled about not doing an actual experiment. He said, well, we don't have enough fucking data. We don't know what happened is what he said. We don't know what happened.
Test it.
And he said it, and Jackson got him to say it more than once. We don't know what happened.
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here? We don't know what happened. It's over.
What is Karen Reed even doing?
It's a fucking
there?
wrap. Take a walk. Have a nice day.
Lala81 said, if it's a mistrial again, DA has said he will prosecute again, which is psychopathological.
I don't believe it. I don't believe that'll happen.
I don't think so either.
I think he's saying that, but I don't think it'll happen. I don't think. First of all, I think that they won't even.
He won't get reelected.
I think Karen Reed's going to take it to a higher court if they try that shit, because that's not fair. At some point, that's there again. Like if they do that, just illustrates what they're really trying to do here. They don't have a case, and they keep trying to make the same case because they don't want to go after the real killers. They don't want to go after. And you know what I really think happened? I think Higgins took him down in that wrestling move. I think that guy's head got cracked on the cement or on a barbell on the way down, and it cracked his head open and it killed him. And they didn't know what to do. And I think that everybody in that house knew that Higgins didn't intend to do that. That's what I think. And I think that when you look at Proctor's texts where he said, the girl's going to go down for this, I think that she became a convenient scapegoat that just opened up.
Yeah.
Because she showed up.
Because she showed back up.
Because she opened her fucking mouth. Because she laid the foundation for her to be a suspect in this. And because they were successful in avoiding anybody to come into the house or any questions to be asked to people inside the house at the time of this man's death. So I think this just all kind of unfolded in a way. And I think the reasons why the cops inside, where they universally rallied behind him. And remember, as soon as they made the decision to put the body out on the lawn and not call.
As if he was struck by a...
and start staging something. As soon as they did that, they committed a crime.
Yeah,
they all committed a crime. So as soon as that crime happened, there's no way out of that. So when the spotlight on this crime shone on Karen Reed, there's no reason not to go along with it. They're all criminals at this point. They're all criminals at this point.
Yeah, so it's easier to protect each other because they're all going to go down if one of them does. Amanda Cush on TikTok said, Brennan rambled and clearly didn't have a succinct closing prepared. He was on the defensive. I was really, really surprised. He has been speaking so much better this entire trial until now, the most important part.
Well, he didn't do the first trial, but he was. He had a lot more. I felt like they folded at the end.
Brennan's close was CC Nelly said Brennan's close was all over the place, just spewing out random facts, no story. I agreed. I was like, why is he so disoriented? It was just such a strange, like, spaghetti of, like, it wasn't prepared at all.
No. It was an insane. First of all, it was also cinematically speaking. And for those of you who don't know, on TikTok, I'm a filmmaker. I got into a fight with Leonardo DiCaprio. I wrote a book behind me called Two Real Hollywood Memoir, all about it. So I kind of look through cinematic lenses. A lens. My eyes see things cinematically. And today's closing arguments were just perfectly cinematic. You had this like charismatic, reasonably good looking, sharp-witted defense attorney, looking dapper as hell, and just fucking nailing practically every single line he delivered on behalf of his own.
Dresses nicely.
If you say so. He wears brown suits. I don't like brown suits.
Okay.
But Brennan, he bumbled all over the place. He wasn't confident. He seemed to like, you know, like he said something. He said the most ridiculous thing. He said, I have to remember this. He said something about like, he basically brushed off like this massive idea about Karen. I can't remember specifically what it was.
He was like, and they want you to think a dog did it. Absurd.
Yeah.
And then he just moved on to the next
That
thing.
was how he dismissed the dog bite. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. He's like,
absurd.
And they want you to think that a dog did it. Absurd. That's it. That's his science. That's his fucking science.
Very, very compelling argument.
Oh, and he was like, and that was it. He tried to like literally like discredit what was so obviously a brilliant expert witness.
That's why it sounded like he was on the defensive. And I think the reason why is because he doesn't have an offense opportunity. He doesn't have a story. He doesn't have an accident that he can say, this is exactly what happened, and we know this to be true.
What do you think your reaction would be if you were on a jury and you heard that Arca, who brought this really impressive data to the table, were engaged by an agency that is not being identified? You're the juror, and you're hearing about an agency.
I would just assume it's the FBI.
Would you?
Yeah.
I'm so stupid I wouldn't.
Because who investigates cops? You know?
Yeah, the FBI.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of cops involved.
So is that bad then? Because if you think well, the FBI, then the FBI didn't find any wrongdoing, then
no, I would just think that in this case would be insular. Whether it goes higher than this case and this Commonwealth and this prosecution and this, scenario, like that's not for me, the juror, to know, because they're trying this case with Karen Reed.
Right.
But if the FBI independently is putting a case together to charge Higgins with a crime,
yeah,
that's not something I'm going to see as a juror.
No.
Leo Edit said, everyone here, you should read Dale's book. It's really good.
Thank you, Leo Edits. Guys, please like the live. We'd love to have a big live tonight. That would be nice. There's a nice crowd over on TikTok tonight, guys. We have like 130 people there. So if you wouldn't mind, just give us like a 4 of them, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just move on. Not from the live. Just, you don't have to like us after that.
Hazel Weatherfield, I didn't know this information. The blood evidence shows he was upright for at least a minute, blood all the way down to his waist.
Right.
And
this
vomit,
is what I'm saying.
he apparently had vomit on his boxer shorts.
Thank you for bringing this up, because this is the thing I was saying. Like that, when you look at the hoodie, the blood does not make any sense to the Commonwealth story.
It's down his back.
It would pool.
It's down his front.
If he struck his head and somehow ended up on his stomach, it would pull downward. It's going to pull around his face and around, because the
if he struck his head and ended up on his back, right?
And
it
even
would
if
still pull around his shoulders
or around his shoulder, exactly,
right.
Around his shoulders. It's not going to go all the way down to the waist. It's not going to pull in a V. When you get a V, if it's narrowing,
and down the back too, it's like really.
It's in a V, and a V means that it's. There's no way it's going to pull down in a V. That's not how.
That was one of those ways that I said that even when the defense throughout this trial has lost, like they've lost an argument with the judge, that they're trying to get the upper hand and then they lose it. They have ended up winning because, like, for instance, when Brennan was showing the witness the holes on the back of John O'Keefe's hoodie, as if that was evidence from having been struck and being found at the crime scene. Okay,
right.
The defense called for a mistrial because he was showing those holes in the back of the hoodie as if they had been created at the scene of the crime, as opposed to being created in the lab,
right,
by the technicians who were taking samples.
So the judge didn't let that happen, right?
No, well, it wasn't a mistrial, obviously.
No, but I'm saying apart from the mistrial, like I remember that.
But the judge,
unless he went back up and said,
the judge what they decided to do was give the jury instructions,
right?
But because the judge decided against the defense and for the prosecution,
right,
the defense got to show the jury pictures of the back of that hoodie, so that they could see for themselves all of the blood. So it wasn't even about the blood, but they got to show that, because the jury wasn't otherwise going to see the back of that hoodie. But the back of that hoodie is really damning.
And they have
How
it in
the hell
evidence
did
now.
he-
It's in the jurors'
Yes,
possession.
because he pointed out holes. Now they get to see blood.
And by the way, I've said I think that they're going to have a verdict by the end of Monday. But if they don't have a verdict by the end of Monday, it's because this was a long trial. There's a lot of evidence. So if you have to move somebody on one of the counts, and it was weird. I thought it was weird that look, according to, if I understand everything correctly, on the first trial, she was acquitted for murder. Isn't that correct?
She was acquitted, but because there was a mistrial on the other.
No, I understand. She was acquitted for murder is my point. In the
Right.
jury's room.
No, she was acquitted for 2, and it was a mistrial on the 3rd.
Let me make my point, because in the first trial, she was acquitted for murder, correct? So I believe that in the second trial, why wouldn't the prosecution said, or the Commonwealth said, that they didn't want the lesser charges. I wonder why I understand why the defense would want them, because obviously doing 5 years is better than doing life if they lost the case. But I would have had such, like, especially knowing that a previous jury already acquitted her on the murder charges, and Brennan was totally like fucking cool with not going with the lesser charges. I'm surprised that the defense wanted the lesser charges, because now a part of why we might be here a week from now is because there are these 3 charges, and I feel like they left her almost vulnerable to getting a manslaughter charge, because I was watching the chat on Court TV because we watched the Court TV feed, and I was watching the chat, and somebody on Court TV was like, or more than one person was like, I don't think she killed him on purpose, but I think she had something to do with the accident.
See what I mean? That's why. Because
yeah, but you don't want that, because if you have
I know, but
if you say I don't, that first part acquits her.
Yes,
from the murder. So then if those other charges are there, she walks.
Okay, but you don't know whether the juror is going to think in black or white and decide that if they think she's culpable for some part of it, that they only have to go on the one extreme.
Right.
Like if you give them 2 polar opposites to choose from,
yeah,
and they don't think she's completely innocent, then you're making sure that they're going to say that she's completely guilty.
Right.
So they give them a bunch of gray area in between, allowing.
I feel like it's dangerous. I personally think it's dangerous, because it's like the hung jury was on the manslaughter.
I agree with the choice. I think it's more dangerous to give them black or white decision to make.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
If you only give them a binary, then you're not allowing for them to. If any of the jurors finds any fault with your client, then you're making sure that they say that she's.
I just felt like you could be confident that one juror was going to say, "There's no way this woman murdered with any intent or malice,
right,
John O'Keefe." Like,
well,
I felt like it was like a hung jury on that is a slam dunk.
Dale, then that juror is going to make sure that it's a hung jury no matter what, right? Whether the defense gives them a bunch of options or not, then that juror that you're talking about is going to make sure.
All right, you outwitted me. Angela's smarter than me. It's true. I'm not afraid to admit it. I know it's real. Guys, if you want to see Angela, you can check us out on our YouTube live that's happening right now. It's a little better audio. You guys aren't getting this mic. I am figuring it out with TikTok to try and get my actual feed. But the truth is, on YouTube, we talk a lot of shit. And
listen.
And and sometimes TikTok doesn't let us do that. Yeah.
Elefante said, I wouldn't be able to be a juror. I'd be on TikTok every night.
I know, me too.
I think that's what you could just say, too, to get yourself off of jury duty, is just be like, I am too addicted to social media, Your Honor. I will never be able to sequester.
Dude, I don't want to be a jury, because like if I get like an attorney like Jackson, and then he like does that shit, I'm going to be like,
hey,
bravo.
Can we not?
Bravo.
You're upsetting the dog.
The
dog is like, what are we doing? What's happening?
You know what I'm saying, dude? Like, I would be like standing, I'd be like, you guys, not guilty. That was brilliant. You're brilliant. You're good.
I know, all the way through his closing arguments, I'd be like, I know, right? Like, that was crazy.
Or I'll be like all like discreet, being like, boo. You know, Brennan's like, you guys, blah, 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 blah. Boo. Boo. Or I'd be like nudging the jurors, being like, psst. I'd be the worst juror ever. I've never been selected for jury, because I'm a green card holder in America. I'm not allowed to sit on a jury. I am not one of your peers.
Lucky.
I'm not one of your peers. How does that make you feel?
C. Sylvia said, pre Karen Reed.
Yeah, free Karen Reed. We're on jury watch, man. We're 100% on jury watch. We followed the trial from day one, and we're very interested in seeing her win. What's going on in on our YouTube feed? On our YouTube feed, we have some folks. Let me see if I can get some questions going on.
Jess Christie said, "I loved when Jackson said that the prosecution was cooked." He did. I was like,
yes,
some slang.
Yeah, Jackson called them cooked. That was just like, the guy is
I was like,
so...
oh, you have teenagers at home, huh? Is that what that means?
Look, man, when you listen to Brennan's close, if you watch Brennan's closing arguments...
Morgan said that it must be a young jury. That he's probably speaking to young jurors.
He's like looking in the eyes of... To me, nothing is more discrediting on somebody who... Like, I think I said fire once, and somebody just totally looked at, like, they stopped and looked at me. They were
like offended.
They were like, "What are you saying fire for?" I'm like, that Leonard Cohen does that in the song. But anyway, you'll be the fire, I'll be the rain. But anyway, I kid. Jackson, yeah, he was just fucking, he was just so on fire. I was so impressed by him. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was like, I told you, as a writer, I think I should cover it. I think I should literally cover it as a piece of writing. It's that delicious.
CC Nelly says, they can retry as many times as it takes to get a clean verdict. They could prosecute for 10 more years.
Really? Like, there's no, she can't, we can be harassed by the state like that? Like there has to be some kind of rules about that, because that's a financial burden to her. That's like, for example, like you're beating her all the way down to a public defender.
Right.
Like,
right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Until they get a clean verdict?
Until, like, a clean verdict, or a lawyer who can't adequately, like, defend her. Like, that's, I don't know, man. I wonder if that's true. I feel like there's a certain amount of, I wonder. You're probably right, because I don't know. But it seems to me very...
Elefante said, I don't think it was actually Higgins. I think it was Colin. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that it was the kids. And I think this is based on, there was a lot more people that testified in the first trial that we didn't see.
Colin Albert?
Yes. So they,
but
I think
why?
A lot of people think that there were other family members involved that have since been, like, hidden.
But why Colin? There's no motive there that we were ever made of. We know that Higgins...
There's a conspiracy theory that Colin was selling drugs, and that John O'Keefe was...
I heard this.
...trying to stop people from selling drugs in the neighborhood, not knowing that it traced back to this family. And so that they, like...
So they killed him before he found out?
Well, no. I think they meant to, like, scare him and, like, beat him up or something and convince him to drop the investigation.
I have a hard time.
Because they were saying, like, that this family is wealthy, but they couldn't figure out where all the wealth was coming from.
Listen, I would buy more.
They own a pizza parlor, and it doesn't do a ton of business. And then he's got his.
I would buy more that they accidentally killed John O'Keefe. Higgins accidentally killed O'Keefe, and the one thing they don't want is the Alberts being investigated for anything, because you do that and now you're going to uncover all this other stuff in the same way that you know how what's his name, what was that the Murdaugh family. Yeah, the Murdaugh family. So the Murdaugh family, like, how that just unraveled, like, maybe the Alberts were going to unravel like the Murdaughs if they got into that house. So what if Higgins did in fact accidentally kill him in a wrestling move because he wanted to he's trying to be somehow in his own mind chivalrous and, like, win Karen Reed back because he knows Karen Reed's unhappy. Yeah, remember the text. Remember the text. Karen Reed is talking about how she's in a bad relationship. She's talking about how the kids have fucked everything up. She's talking about not being happy. She's talking about not, and remember, these are middle-aged folk. And I can tell you with some experience that middle-aged folks are like, the time is kind of ticking.
I think it's worth clarifying that Karen Reed, she didn't say that the kids are fucking things up. She said that he doesn't like how she is, like, co-parenting, right? Like, whenever she is hanging out with the kids, he's got some criticism. And she was like, you know what? I don't even want to be in the situation where I have to be criticized for how I'm hanging out with your kids.
I got some different impressions on that.
I think that, do you remember that we were really critical of, like, apparently she said that John O'Keefe thought criticized Karen Reed for spoiling the kids, and both of us were like ranting at full volume in our apartment for like 2 hours about how they're orphans. How do you spoil orphans? Do you remember?
I mean,
Karen
do I
Reed
remember?
was like, I don't want to get accused of like spoiling your kids or doing something wrong by like giving them stuff. when you know, I'm trying to just like
honestly,
just trying to be like a stepmom.
Like you don't want to talk bad of the dead, but what?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Don't spoil them kids. Spoil them rotten for the rest of their fucking lives, all the way till they die.
I know,
Everyone
it's the
should be
weirdest.
spoiling those kids, especially now. Yeah.
Yeah. Orphan children are unspoilable. You spoil them.
You spoil orphan children. It's what are we, Oliver all of a sudden? You know?
Mlala81 is asking, do you think that they'll ever actually investigate the obvious suspects if she's acquitted?
No.
He'll never get justice.
No, that's the thing about DAs is they get fucking stubborn and they're like, this is our guy.
Well, yeah, because
their excuse is this was our murderer and they we couldn't get a jury to convict.
They can't admit that they were wrong this whole time by investigating somebody else, you know?
If they litigate her a third time, bro, I don't know, man. I would think like, I don't know. I'm telling you, man. I think like, at what point do we take to the streets? Because that kind of harassment by the state is unbelievable.
Janae Wiley said, they all drink a lot. One of them is going to talk and say what really happened.
Yeah,
to someone.
eventually. Yeah, you're right. Somebody's going to get drunk and confess it.
Elefante said, I don't think that they were close enough with Higgins to keep their mouth shut and do this much hiding.
I do. I think you underestimate cops and their ability to keep their mouths